you're ready.
All right, so welcome to our Black Hockey History Mobile Museum. My name is Kwame. I'm one of the curators of this museum, and this is what we call our history in the game. You know, opening up the diversity and the inclusion and the storytelling. And what this truck does is pay homage to all the different factors of the history of black athletes in hockey and growing the game. And you know, this is our Hockey is for Everyone wall, where we celebrate all the small programs in the different areas of the United States and in Canada that encourage minority kids to come out and play the game of hockey. You know, we've got Mr. Neil Henderson, who has just been inducted into the USA Hockey Hall of Fame. And he was the very first person to put together a program like this in Washington, D.C. for underprivileged kids. And, you know, he's still going strong today. And, you know, we really try to encourage these kids to be a part of the game of history, and we wanted to pay homage to them. This is a beauty for me. This is women in the game of hockey. Our sisters that are doing great things in the United States and in Canada. We've got the lovely Angela James here, who is the first one of the first women inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame, and she's a black woman from Toronto. So, you know, I love her to death. I think she's got a great story, and she's very important to the growth of women's hockey and where hockey is today for women's. Over here, we've got some artifacts. We've got Willie O'Ree's jersey worn, you know, his sweater that he wore in 1958 when he became the first black athlete to play in the National Hockey League. And the really cool thing about this sweater is that, you know, when he finished that game, he left it in Boston, and 60 years later, the equipment manager who was still working for the Boston Bruins had this in his family, and he kept it all those years. And when he saw Willie O'Ree at the arena, he looked at him and said, "Mr. O'Ree, you forgot something." So we're really glad we have this sweater that we can put up for everybody to come and see. And Willie O'Ree's got a great story. Again, like, he broke the color barrier in 1958, and he's still with us today, and so we're really glad to see him. Now, this man right here, he goes by the name of Herb Carnegie, and he played before Willie O'Ree in the 1940s and 50s, and he was considered one of the best hockey players of his time, not just black players, but players in general. And you know, he never had the opportunity to play in the National Hockey League. A lot of those issues came because he was a player of color, but he never used that as an excuse to go forward and do great things. He became the first person to start up a hockey school in North America. He had a creed called the Future Aces Creed philosophy, and it promoted, you know, self-discipline and respect for others, especially in the children, for children. And you know, he's a really big piece of our history in the game. So important that Marvel Comics thought he was a great figure and a great role model that they put him in a Spider-Man issue where Peter Parker met up with him to, you know, help fight crime. You know, drug dealers were trying to smuggle drugs in hockey pucks, and Herb Carnegie was the guy to help Spider-Man foil that plan. Another cool thing about our museum that you'll see is a little bit of our history, our, you know, where it all began for the black athlete in hockey, which is the Colored Hockey League of the Maritimes. It was around in 1895 to about 1915, and you know, black Americans came to Canada, and they, you know, wanted to, you know, be a part of the community, and being a part of the community for the young men was playing hockey. And because they weren't able to play with the white players at that time, they formulated their own league, and it was called the Colored Hockey League of the Maritimes, and it was around from 1895 to 1925, I'm corrected. And it's a great piece of our history because a lot of innovations happened in that league, like the butterfly style of goaltending, and also a thing that they called the baseball shot at that time, because a lot of those players were baseball players in the summer and to keep fit in the winter, they played hockey. And a guy by the name of Eddie Martin had the foresight to take what he did on the baseball field, which was swing the bat at the ball, and he did it in the opposite direction towards the puck, and they called it the news, or the newspapers called it the baseball shot, but we all know that as the slap shot. And lastly, we got another wall where we pay homage to some of our greats, like the great Grant Fuhr, the first black athlete to win the Stanley Cup and to also be into the Hall of Fame, the first black coach, Dirk Graham. Mike Marsden was the second black athlete to play in the National Hockey League. Tony McKegney was our first superstar, a great goal scorer, just a great teammate and just a great guy. And, a lot of the players like Jerome McGillna looked up to him because of his scoring prowess and his skills. Val James is the first American-born black athlete to play in the National Hockey League. So, the main thing about this museum, what we want to do is pay homage to those who came before the players that you see today, which is these guys that you'll see, like P.K. Subban, Jordan Greenway, Darnell Nurse, Wayne Simmons. And the really cool thing that people can find when they come down to the museum, we have QR codes. So if you hit onto the QR code, you'll see a nice little thing about these players. And the last thing that I think is one of the most awesome things, especially for the people of St. Louis, is our locker room. We've got Jamal Mayer's game-worn jersey, Grant Fuhr's green-worn jersey, and Ryan Reed's, a huge fan favorite out here. So I encourage everybody in St. Louis to come down and check out the museum. If you want more information on it, you can go to the NHL.com/Black Hockey History, and you can find out times and locations and anything you want to know about the museum.